So today we are going to look at another example of Redux Thunk. So inside our action.js, we are going to export our action, that is export const fetch GitHub data. So we are going to use an API today where we are going to fetch the data from that API. Redux Thunk is the middleware that calls the action creators that return a function instead of the action object. That functions then receives the stores dispatch method, which is then used to dispatch the regular synchronous actions inside a body of the functions. So after we have done our action.js, we will create reducer.js. Inside reducer.js, we are going to call our action first of all. So we will import the fetch GitHub data from our action.js. Then we will export default the function and we will name it GitHub reducers. It takes the state as an empty string and the action, and inside that we will write our switch statement which has the argument action.type. So inside our switch, our first case is fetch GitHub data. So this one is going to return the action dot data, and then we are going to include our default case which is return state. The reducer.js file contains pure functions and does not relate to any backend service. Reducers must be pure functions. So, if the action type is matched with the fired action, then it will modify the store and change the current state and give the mutated state. Now we are going to create a file named type.js. Here we will import the fetch GitHub data from our actions and then import axios, which we have previously installed from the axios library. After we are done with that, we will add our URL of the API. So const API URL, and we will assign the URL inside that. You can type the link of the URL, or you can find it inside the description box. Now we are going to export our const, which is named fetch data. It takes data as an input and it is going to return two things. First one is the type of the action and the second one is the data itself. Next we are going to export a constant named fetch GitHub data. This is assigned to an arrow function. Now the action returns the object that contains two properties. The first one is action type and the second one is payload. Here we have two actions in our example. So the fetch GitHub data returns the dispatch method. Here we are going to return axios.get API URL, and then we are going to add dot then, where it takes responses as the parameter and returns dispatch fetch data, which takes response dot data as input. We are also going to respond to the errors using dot catch error, which is assigned to throw error. So this is how we have created our type.js. Now inside our store we have created a file index.js. Here we are going to import the combined reducers from Redux, and we are also going to import our data from the GitHub reducers. And lastly we will export our combined reducers. So after importing the data from GitHub reducers, we will export default the combined reducers, which has data, and it is assigned to the data inside the GitHub reducers. Lastly, we will change the original index.js file. Here, instead of reducers, we are going to add root reducers from the store inside the reducer, and inside our create store method also we will replace the reducer by root reducer. Now we are going to add our component named github.data.js. We haven't created this file right now, so let us go ahead and now create the file github.data.js inside our components folder. Here, this is a functional component, so we will be using RFC for the code snippet. And next we are going to import the connect method from React Redux. This GitHub data function takes data as an input, and if there is no data, then we are going to return a div statement which says no data. And inside our return statement, we are going to return a name which is assigned to data.name, and then we are using a break statement, and then another div which is going to return the blog which is assigned to data.blog. And similarly, the last property that we are going to display here is the GitHub followers, which is assigned to data.followers. Now we are going to create our method map state to props, which takes state as an input and returns the data which is assigned to state.data. Lastly, we are going to use the connect method, and we are going to export default connect map state to props, and the other will be null. We'll add this component inside our app.js, and let us see the output. So you can see I'm getting an output no data. So no data implies that there is no data inside my API, as we have written inside the if statement inside our GitHub data.js file, that is the component. So no data, we are getting that output. So I will just refresh my browser and I will make sure that I'm connected to the internet to get this output. So there is a name and the blog site and also GitHub followers. So now I can get the data. That's it for today. Thank you.